Τι συμβαίνει όταν ο Tyler McBeth, ο άνθρωπος που δεν μασάει τα λόγια του, ρωτιέται για τον Μητσοτάκη? Η πρώτη του συνέντευξη στην Ελλάδα είναι γεμάτη επικές ατάκες, απορίες και λίγο τρολάρισμα. Δείτε το βίντεο και αφήστε σχόλιο με τη γνώμη σας. Μην ξεχάσετε να κάνετε εγγραφή. Οι καλύτερες στιγμές έρχονται.
We are so happy that you are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming because, you know, I always wanted to meet you. I told Stefanos about that. I really want to see your perception on what's happening right now, on the past year that was really turbulent and really, I don't know, stressful, I guess, for both of you. How did you experience this?
Yeah, so I mean, the last year has been a little bit of a wild ride, but just as Stefanos kind of took over the opposition role in a very short period of time, less than a month, technically speaking, the year ahead of us was a wild ride by all means. But moving forward and kind of reflecting on the last year, I think we've learned a lot, both personally and professionally. We've learned a lot about ourselves, but we've also continued to stay true to ourselves.
Was it scary for you when this all started?
I wouldn't say it was scary. It was kind of a lot to digest in the beginning, but again, like when he signed up for this originally, we knew exactly what we wanted to do and why we were doing it, and we've been able to stay grounded in that throughout the process. So it wasn't necessarily scary, it was just ensuring that we always continue to be true to ourselves.
Did you expect it to go like this? I mean, more of your personal perception on the cameras, following you going to the gym or going to buy coffee and with the dog and running.
Yes.
Did you expect that to happen?
Not to the degree not to the degree that took place.
Okay.
We kind of, you anticipate some of these things, but you never really know exactly what to expect. So I think we had anticipated a lot of the attention because we are foreigners in some ways, and we were very new to the country. It's someone who's coming into the political scene almost unannounced, more or less, and then you have all this attention that's derived to you essentially in real time. So it was a lot. We had anticipated some of it, but not to the degree that necessarily took place.
Did you think that the Greek media are brutal?
I don't think it's necessarily just Greek media. I can't attest to other countries per se, but I do believe that in any other country where someone who's kind of unannounced comes into a political scene in such a high-level role would also probably gain a lot of attention as well.
Was there a moment where you said, okay, that's enough? Let's think about if we should go back or continue staying here and be strong?
No, I think we've always both really had the same desire to fight for what his intentions were in the beginning. And like he has said, and we've said in interviews prior to this, I knew if he went for the role that he had a very good chance of succeeding and winning. And so I knew that I believed in him. I still believe in him. Yeah.
Even before it started, before
Absolutely.
He was elected.
Yeah, I think that was why it was such a big decision for us. And I think that's why we've been able to stay so true to ourselves along the way, because we did it with the full intent of we're going all the way. And I told him, if you decide to run for the role of leader of Syriza and opposition leader at the time, we have to ensure that we want to do this, because I really genuinely believed in that moment when we make that decision that he would win and we would be doing this for the long term.
And are you ready for the long term to stay in Greece, to have your home here?
Yeah,
What about your family, your friends?
I always explain myself as a bit of a chameleon. I kind of just acclimate to my environment no matter where it may be, whether it's abroad, whether it's in the US, whether it's in any type of country or any environment. So I enjoy the challenge. I'm 33 years old, Stefanos is 36. We're young. It's like this is a perfect time to make these big, bold decisions and sacrifices and do things that are new and groundbreaking.
We heard about the gym, probably you were starting the business.
Yeah.
Also, Mrs. Pagoni said that she would like you to be in the health department and do stuff there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a multi-layered effect. So the gym aspect actually was already in discussion and negotiations before Stefanos went into politics. It took a while to negotiate.
Before.
Yeah, it's a franchise coming from the US, so it took a little bit of time for us to negotiate and do all the legal framework.
So you decided to stay in Greece before the elections took place?
Yeah, we in a perfect world before the elections took place, we were going to be spending a lot more time in Greece.
What about your dreams for the family with Stefanos? To adopt a child, maybe?
Absolutely. I think we would be extremely lucky to be able to have a family, whether it's adoption or whatever route that may be. Obviously a family is very important to both of us, and it's something that we want to achieve in our life. I guess the concept of how we will achieve that is still not known at the moment, but long term we would definitely foresee ourselves having a family. It's something that we want to achieve and we'll work hard to achieve.
What about the comments that came out of this conversation when this became publicly?
Yeah.
When Stefanos talked about the kids, that you want to expand your family, how did you receive the comments?
The reality is when you put yourself in a public scenario of, like, for example, him being in a political role, you are opening up yourselves to being judged by the entire country, the entire world, whatever that position may be. So for me personally, I know who I am as a person. I know what I would like to have in my life. I know why I would be doing that. And so for me, people can have any opinion or any comment they want to have, but it doesn't really affect me personally. Like, it's okay for someone to not agree with what I want to do. I might not agree what they want to do, but I'm not going to put my own judgment or my own opinions on them. So for me, you know, everyone has the right to have an opinion, but it doesn't mean they have to impose it on us.
When Syriza started going against Stefanos, when Stefanos started to notice that, and I think you had discussions with him about that, what were your comments?
Yeah, I think looking back now, like for the last year, there's a moment where Syriza never really wanted to understand and digest what had happened in the last two national elections leading up to having a new leader take over the party. So for us, and now reflecting on the situation, I'm not sure that they ever wanted to actually accept and realize that they had a new leader and that the base had decided that they wanted a totally new concept for the party. So it wasn't so much of a surprise that they were always kind of pushing back because, again, and from the get-go, they never wanted to accept him being in that spot. And the party itself has not really done its own introspection as to why maybe they've continued to lose significant gains over the last two national elections. So for me, it wasn't so much of a surprise. And I think we had always continued to talk about that in our household of, you know, the party continues to have one appeal, but then the base also has a different opinion and a different desire. And that never really matched up. And we saw that leading up to the most recent moment before he started his own party. And I think the whole entire country now has the ability to see the true understanding and underlying scenarios of what is within the party and their intentions inside the party.
And before the new party was created by Stefanos, about the decision Syriza made not to let him go into elections, what was your position then? What did you say to him? Let's go home, why don't you do a new party?
Yeah, I definitely did not say let's go home. I think the country will learn over time that when Stefanos and I put our mind to something, we're very unstoppable and we will not stop until we achieve that. So for us, it was never even a concept in our minds that, okay, you're giving up on politics, we're out of here. It was always like, okay, if you can't do this, like, how can you continue to be a force of nature and to create real change in this country? That's why he was put in the position a year ago as leader of Syriza. That's why he remains in the position he's in today, because there is a desire that this country does want change.
And when you see him getting disappointed, or how do you react to that? What do you say to him?
I think I just always try and remain to encourage him. I try to help him realize like how much value and how much worth he has, not only as an individual, but also as a politician and a political figure. And the people give both he and myself energy. So with him going out into society, he could be extremely exhausted, but it's always enlightening for me to see him go maybe on a tour and come back and he's been exhausted leading up to the tour, but when he returns home, he has this whole new breath of fresh air and energy about being excited about what's to come and the future of Greece and his ability to really make change because people continue to instill that confidence in him when he's out in the public.
Do you believe that Stefan could be the next Prime Minister for Greece?
Absolutely. I said it a year ago and I'll say it again today. I absolutely believe that he can and will be the Prime Minister of Greece one day.
And what's your opinion of Kyriakos Mitsotakis?
In what aspect? I mean, look, I think when you're running a country, you have to run a country in a fair manner. And the reality is people in this country are going hungry. There's a lot of situations that have happened in the years leading up to the current date of time that have been really unfair and unnecessary. And you have a political leader and a prime minister of the country who is disregarding these things and or not accepting what's taken place. And so for me, that's a bit problematic.
Would you go into politics yourself?
Absolutely not.
Why?
I love to support Stefanos on that journey, but for me personally, it's not a fit.
Because of the language or?
No, not because of the language. I mean, I obviously have a long way to go on my Greek, but I would like to think that in the coming years, I would, in theory, be a fluent Greek speaker. It's something that I will hope and strive for. So the Greek language barrier wouldn't be the issue for me. I think for me personally, it's just not a right fit.
How would you fit in this country into medicine and health system?
Yeah, so I have
Do you see yourself?
Absolutely. I've had some discussions with different people. So I've had a wide variety and diverse background of medicine in the U.S. Obviously, the system here is quite different in how they function, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a very different means of, it's a very different means of practice. So I have some ideas and some things that I would like to put forth in the coming year. So in 2025, I would like to hopefully start something that would be similar to my last experience in the U.S., which is really.
You mean more privately, like a private business, not in public?
What I'm actually looking at doing is something that's both semi-private and semi-public.
You recently opened your Instagram account, which was more private. Now you have it open to the public. What messages do you receive?
Just a lot of hope, actually. And it's funny because for a while I really didn't want to open it up just because I really do value my privacy. However, in the last year, the reality is that our lives have changed in Greece and we have become public figures. And the true honest scenario is that nothing in our lives is fully private. So there's nothing that I'm really hiding anyway. So why not just give everyone the opportunity to see like, hey, this is me. This is my Instagram, get to know me more.
A lot of people say that because Stefanos was so open about his lifestyle, was so open about the relationship with you, that harmed Syriza and his image. What do you respond to that?
My response is that when you know who you are, that's all that matters. So why in politics, if you're a politician and your country is potentially voting for you to lead the country, why would you be hiding anything? What is there to hide? The reality is he is Stefanos Kasselakis, I am Tyler McBeth. We have a very amazing relationship that we're very proud of, and we've worked very hard to get to this point. Why not be proud of that? Why not share it with everyone else so that they can see?
So why was your marriage so close? If you let us in your life so openly, why didn't we saw that?
I think if there's one point in our lives that we could keep private, that would be the one specific thing we would appreciate the privacy on. So it's something that we actually worked really hard for. And going back to the point of the brand and the image of Syriza being apparently dampened by him being so out in public, you can only control so much of that as well. If people are following you all the time, if they're coming after you, you can only do so much to avoid that. And if we wanted to prove to the country as well, if when we want to be a private citizen, we can absolutely achieve that. It takes a lot of work and effort, but we're not there to really publicize ourselves to that level of extent that people kind of blamed us for doing. And so that showed the country as well that we can have a private moment and it's up to us necessarily to decide.
I admit that.
Yeah.
When you see your image on TV, do you understand what they were saying about you?
Yeah, so I'm very up to date on the news. I'm very up to date on politics in the country. I follow the news quite closely in Greece on a day-to-day basis, and I'm very kind of well-versed on what's going on, both from just a public atmosphere in the country as well as a political hemisphere.
How would you describe Stefanos in one word?
Resilient.
Resilient.
Yeah.
He seems so determined when I see him. Is he like that in his personal life as well?
Yeah, I think when I first met him, I was so intrigued by him and really amazed at just his individual character. And the more I got to know, the more kind of intrigued and in love I really became, per se.
Wow.
But yeah, I think his personal character is very much who you see like in politics as well. He's a very driven guy. When he puts his mind to something, he's not going to stop until he achieves it. But he's also fair enough, remained very humble.
How are things now with the democracy movement, the new offices, your new life? He's out of Syriza now. I think it's better for him. That's what it shows. How is he feeling?
I think when I look at him, someone actually asked me this yesterday. When I look at him, I see someone who feels refreshed, revitalized. when you're waking up every day, when you're leading a party, and your first step of the day isn't to it's not to talk about policy proposals, it's not to talk about what you're going to do for the country. It's for him, when he was in Syria, his first step of the day was to crisis manage the party, which internally, the party is cannibalistic. They would continuously eat each other every day, which really didn't allow him the full capacity to show his political talent. And he has a lot of capabilities from a political aspect that he can do for the country. And I think with the Kinema Demokratia, you will see that moving forward. Now he has kind of a clear space and a clear runway for him to really show his political abilities. And what's funny about the name and everything else with his new party is that this country created democracy, and you saw what happened in Syria, which was the exact opposite of that. So,
you also voted for the logo as well. We are expecting the logo to come out.
Yeah, I voted as well, actually.
Can you tell us?
I don't know. I'm curious to see if my top choice is going to even be in the top 3, actually.
I don't want you to put you in a difficult position. What should we wish for you for 2025?
Wish for me? I think let's just wish for the country, like a better opportunity for everyone here, because there is a lot of struggle, and you can see even in the latest polls, there's a lot of lost hope for what's to come in the country in the coming year.
That's true.
And so I think if we can just create some positive, influence on 2025, we'll all be better off.
That's a great blessing for all the country, and we will keep this wish and wish to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.